Let's go back to the early to mid 2010s. Vine, epic memes, epic mealtime, and first baseman getting absolutely paid. 240 million for you, 214 million for you. How does 248 sound, Miguel? Does 161 work okay for you, Chris? But like Vine, large first base contracts slowly but surely vanished, at least for several years. What happened to them in those years? Where did they go? And why did they disappear? I'm Chris Gionta from Above Replacement Radio, and today I'm talking about how and why first basemen were devalued for a certain period of time. In 2014 and 2015, 4 of the top 10 highest paid players for the year were first basemen according to SpotTrack. In 2025, there are 0 first basemen in the top 15. Of course, when Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s new extension fully takes effect, he will certainly be in the top 15, but he's just one guy. We will get into that contract later in the video. The shift can be explained by a variety of reasons, and the first and most obvious one is that for most large first base contracts in the early to mid 2010s,
it didn't work, my friend.
Before we get into these deals, let's discuss how we will be evaluating these contracts. We will look at OPS plus, which takes the stat on base percentage plus slugging percentage and adjusts it for park and league factors and sets the average at 100. The stat is especially important for first basemen, who typically derive almost all their value from hitting. We will also look at wins above replacement, also known as WAR. This measures a player's cumulative value over a given period of time using hitting, fielding, and base running factors. An average player puts up about 2 wins above replacement over a full season, and your average MVP winner puts up 8 or 9. Baseball Reference's version of WAR is popularly referred to as B-WAR, while Fangraphs' version is referred to as F-WAR. Lastly, we will look at Fangraphs' dollar value statistic. This metric gives a dollar value for a player in a given season based exclusively on their F-WAR. The dollar value is based on the pool of money given to free agents, which eliminates the factor that many of the most productive players in baseball are still in their arbitration or pre-arbitration process, where they are not being paid market value. For example, Gunnar Henderson is being paid $782,300 in 2025, which is over 60 times less than Juan Soto's 2025 salary. Soto was just 1 spot ahead of Henderson in the 2024 AL MVP voting. That's how baseball works, and I'm sure Henderson will one day make 60 times more than a top 5 MVP vote getter. But the Fangraphs dollar value statistics takes that pre-arbitration and arbitration pool out of the equation. The first 9-figure contract handed out to a first baseman in the 2010s was a 5-year, $125 million extension given to Philadelphia Phillies slugger Ryan Howard. The contract would span from 2012 through 2016, which were his age 32 through 36 seasons. During that contract, he put up a 95 OPS plus, meaning 5% below league average, and also averaged negative 1.0 B-WAR and negative 0.4 F-WAR per year. His Fangraphs dollar value for the contract was negative $14.2 million. Howard was just the start, and for these next few contracts, I will be applying a 2025 contract value based on how the total MLB payroll allocations were the year the contract was given, compared to 2025's payroll allocations. In December of 2011, Albert Pujols signed a 10-year, $240 million deal with the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, which would span from his age 32 through 41 seasons, or older. The contract would be about $382 million overall and $38 million per year in today's value. Pujols put up a 108 OPS plus in those 10 years and averaged 1.3 B-WAR and 0.7 F-WAR per season. His Fangraphs dollar value from 2012 to 2021 was $46.2 million, less than 20% of the contract's value. In January of 2012, Prince Fielder signed a 9-year, $214 million deal with the Detroit Tigers, which would span from his age 28 through 36 seasons. Like Pujols' deal, it would have averaged about $38 million in today's MLB value and would have been worth about $340 million overall. Fielder did not play a game for the final 4 years of that contract and averaged 0.8 B-WAR and F-WAR per season of that deal. His Fangraphs dollar value was $49.9 million for the length of the deal, or about 23% of the contract's actual value. 2 years into that deal, the Tigers traded him to the Texas Rangers, who agreed to pay $138 million of the $168 owed to him. Fielder accumulated negative WAR and therefore negative Fangraphs dollar value with Texas. The trade made it so twice defending AL MVP Miguel Cabrera could move back to first base from third. And a few months after the trade, the Tigers signed Miguel Cabrera to an 8-year, $248 million extension that would span from 2016 through 2023 in his age 33 through 40 seasons. The deal would be about $347 million in 2025 MLB value and worth about $43 million per year. During those years, Cabrera posted a 106 OPS plus, an average .3 BWAR and .4 FWAR per season. His Fangraphs dollar value during the deal's length was $26.2 million, which was 11% of the contract's value. Finally, we meet the final boss of bad first base contracts, Chris Davis. In January of 2016, the Baltimore Orioles signed him to a 7-year, $161 million contract that would start that year and take him from his age 30 through 36 seasons. The deal would be a little north of $200 million of overall value on the 2025 MLB scale and worth about $29 million per year. Davis put up an 80 OPS plus during those years and in fact did not play a single game in the final 2 years of the deal. He averaged negative .4 BWAR and negative .5 FWAR over the length of the contract, which made his Fangraphs dollar value negative $26.6 million in that time. Now, 7 nine-figure deals were given to first basemen from 2010 to 2016. Howard, Pujols, Fielder, Cabrera, and Davis were 5 of them. The other 2 were not nearly as disastrous as the ones just highlighted, but nothing to write home about either. In April of 2011, the Boston Red Sox extended their recent first base trade acquisition, Adrian Gonzalez, for 7 years and $154 million. The deal spanned from 2012 to 2018, which were his age 30 through 36 seasons. The contract would be worth about $260 million overall and $37 per year by today's scale. While spending the majority of the contract with the Los Angeles Dodgers, he posted a respectable 117 OPS plus while averaging 2.4 BWAR and 1.7 FWAR in those seasons. His overall Fangraphs dollar value in that time was $90 million, or about 58% of the contract's value. The only 9-figure first base contract that arguably fulfilled its worth was the 10-year, $225 million extension Joey Votto signed with the Cincinnati Reds in April of 2012. The contract would be worth about $358 million overall by 2025 standards and about $36 million per year. The deal spanned from 2014 through 2023, which was the entirety of Votto's 30s. Throughout those seasons, he posted a 135 OPS plus and averaged 2.9 BWAR and 2.6 FWAR per season. He put up 2 MVP finalist seasons during that time and earned MVP votes in 2 other seasons as well. His Fangraphs dollar value for the contract was $210.7 million, about 94% of the contract's value. So even on the best 9-figure first base deal signed between 2010 and 2016, it wasn't quite worth it for the team, at least on the field. With most of these contracts turning disastrous and the others being just mildly fulfilling, the next generation of first basemen had to endure the consequences. Along with Joey Votto, Paul Goldschmidt and Freddie Freeman were 2 of the premier first basemen of the 2010s. And from 2014 to 2018, Goldschmidt and Freeman were first and second at the position, respectively, in FWAR. Votto's career started in 2007, and he signed his large contract in 2012. Meanwhile, the other 2 started their respective careers in the early 2010s, and they also both signed pre-arbitration deals that bought out some of their potential free agent years. However, each of them had a big projected payday due after their respective age 31 seasons when those contracts ended. Paul Goldschmidt was traded from the Arizona Diamondbacks to the St. Louis Cardinals in the 2018-19 offseason. With Goldschmidt having 1 year left on his deal, the Cardinals signed him to a 5-year, $130 million extension, which would start in 2020 and take him through his age 36 season. By 2025 MLB value, the contract would be worth about $160 million overall and $32 million per year. 3 years later, Freddie Freeman signed a 6-year, $162 million deal with the Dodgers. First baseman Matt Olson also signed an 8-year, $168 million extension with the Atlanta Braves in March of 2022, but that included 2 years of arbitration, meaning 6 years of free agency were bought out. He would make $132 million in those 6 seasons. It is important to make that distinction, as none of the other contracts discussed included arbitration years. And as we know, that is when you were being paid below market value. Let's take a look at how these 3 deals compare to the 6 I talked about that were signed between 2011 and 2016. I'm not including Ryan Howard's because the 2010 total MLB payroll allocation number isn't on Spotrac, so an accurate 2025 value could not be given. Mind you, none of the more recent contracts go past the player's age 37 seasons. While Votto's deal went through age 39, Cabrera's went through age 40, and Pujols's went through age 41, or older. As you can see, All of the 2011 to 2016 contracts had a modern value of over $200 million, and 4 of the 6 eclipsed $340 million, all while none of the 2019 to 2022 contracts reached $200 million of modern value. Also, Olsen was given less modern average annual value than all of the 2011 to 2016 contracts, and Goldschmidt and Freeman had less modern average annual value than 5 out of 6 of them. One argument that could be presented as to why the value of these contracts declined is simply because the players signed between 2019 and 2022 were not as good as the players signed from 2010 to 2016. Well, let's see if that is actually the case. Here is where these players ranked in B-War and F-War among all position players in the 2 years leading up to them signing these contracts. Of course, Cabrera and Votto were 2 of the best in the game at the time of the signing, but let's also remember these contracts were signed 2 years ahead of the deal even starting. Meanwhile, Freeman, who ranked 7th and more on both websites in the 2 years leading up to the signing, was starting his contract immediately. Regarding the other 4, Adrian Gonzalez and Albert Pujols' rankings were fairly similar to Goldschmidt, Freeman, and Olsen's rankings, while Davis and Fielder were significantly worse. When we bring Ryan Howard back into the equation, it gets even more ridiculous. Why we are talking about first baseman today and not other positions is because a lot of contracts at other positions worked, and the players currently playing at those positions have reaped the benefits. I mentioned near the beginning of the video that 4 of the top 10 highest paid players in 2014 and 2015 were first basemen. Let's look at how the non-first base contracts worked out among those top 10s. Zach Greinke was the highest paid MLB player in the 2014 season and tied for the 3rd highest paid player in 2015. He had signed a 6-year, $147 million deal with the Dodgers heading into the 2013 season. He used an opt-out after the 3rd year of the deal, as he had posted a 2.30 ERA, 2.97 FIP, and 1.56 ERA plus while averaging 201 innings per season in the first 3 years of the contract. His Fangraphs dollar value in those 3 seasons was $101.7 million, and he was paid $70 million in those years, meaning he pitched to 145% of the contract's value before opting out of it. He was rewarded on the market again and received a 6-year, $206.5 million deal heading into the 2016 season. By 2025 metrics, it would be worth about $262 million overall and $44 million per year. Clayton Kershaw was the highest paid MLB player in 2015. He signed a 7-year extension worth $215 million that would span from 2014 through 2020. 6 of those years were free agent seasons being bought out, and the final 2 of those years were bought out when he signed another extension. In the 4 years of free agency the original extension bought out, he put up a 2.22 ERA, 2.48 FIP, and 1.76 ERA plus while averaging 180 innings per year. In that time, he was paid $138.3 million and put up $180.8 million Fangraphs dollar value, which was 131% of the contract's value. Let's look at the 9 total non-first basemen who had top 10 salaries in 2014 and/or 2015. All 9 of their respective Fangraphs dollar values reached at least 60% of the contract's value, while only 1 of the 7 9-figure first base deals given from 2010 to 2016 reached that mark. And players outside the first base position began reaping the benefits of their predecessors. Just one offseason after Freddie Freeman and Matt Olson signed their contracts through their age 37 and 36 seasons, respectively, 4 free agents comprising of 2 shortstops, an outfielder, and a starting pitcher were signed to 9-figure deals that took them through their age 39 seasons or older. It was almost 5 free agents. Pour one out. Also, 3 of those 4 deals were worth at least $280 million. In February of that offseason, Yu Darvish was also extended for 6 years through his age 41 season. Along with teams learning the lessons from some disastrous free agent contracts, it is important to recognize that this trend also stems from teams changing the way they evaluate players. Let's go back to where those 7 first basemen ranked in position player war in the 2 years leading up to the signing of their contracts. The Cabrera, Votto, Pujols, and Gonzalez contracts make more sense than the Fielder, Howard, and Davis deals using these numbers, but what if we bring good old-fashioned home runs into the equation? As we can see, Fielder, Howard, and Davis were all top 5 in round trippers in the 2 years leading up to their signings, and Howard led the league in that stat. Now, home runs are awesome, of course. It's the best thing you can do when you go up to the plate. That being said, teams today typically take more factors into account when looking to sign a first baseman. Along with home runs, they are also looking at how often players are getting on base, how often they are getting hits and extra base hits when they are not hitting home runs, along with how well they field the position and run the bases. In the early to mid 2010s and long before then, it was much more popular to evaluate a player on their batting average, home runs, and runs batted in. Especially for first basemen, it was commonly seen that if you were hitting home runs and driving in runs, you were doing your job. And if you were doing it the most, you were the best at your job. While those numbers are still often referred to, statistics like OPS, OPS plus, weighted runs created plus, and WAR have grown more popular in the last decade and are very likely much more considered by front offices. We were reminded of that reality in the 2024-25 offseason. In the 2 years leading up to that winter, New York Mets first baseman Pete Alonso ranked 5th in home runs and 6th in RBI, but only 72nd in position player B-WAR and 82nd in position player F-WAR. After not getting the value he wanted on long-term offers, he settled for a 2-year, $54 million deal with an opt-out after the first year. There were 15 free agent contracts with more overall value given just that offseason. Pete Alonso was actually born in the wrong generation. Yet, about 2 months after Alonso signed his contract, a first baseman finally brought back the trend we had been missing out on for so long. In April of 2025, the Blue Jays signed franchise first baseman Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to a 14-year, $500 million extension, which will span from 2026 through 2039, which are his age 27 through 40 seasons. It was the first 9-figure deal given to a first baseman through their age 38 season or older since Miguel Cabrera signed his deal in 2014. There had been 14 9-figure deals given to non-first basemen through their age 38 seasons or older in between those deals. There are many factors that went into the agreement of this contract, but one variable that should definitely be highlighted is the success of Paul Goldschmidt and Freddie Freeman's deals. Goldschmidt put up a 134 OPS plus during his contract and averaged 4.0 B-WAR and 3.6 F-WAR per season, even with 2020 being shortened for the whole league by 102 games. Applying a 162 game pace to Goldschmidt's 2020 season, he averaged 4.8 B-WAR and 4.4 F-WAR per year. During the time of his deal, he won an MVP and received MVP votes in 2 of the other 4 years. Because of the shortened season, he was paid $113.6 million over the contract instead of $130 million and put up $145.6 million Fangraphs dollar value. That was worth 128% of the deal's value. Freddie Freeman is a little over halfway through his contract and has already just about paid it off. From 2022 to 2024, he put up a 155 OPS plus and averaged 5.9 B-WAR and 6.2 F-WAR per year. He finished top 4 in the National League MVP vote in the first 2 years of the deal, then placed 17th in 2024. He was paid $81 million in those 3 years and put up $149 million Fangraphs dollar value during that time, good for 184% of the deal's value. It would be fair to assume that if Freeman and Goldschmidt's contracts turned out like Ryan Howard's or Chris Davis's, the Blue Jays might have felt less assured in signing Vladimir Guerrero Jr. for so much and so long. The way the results of the 9-figure first base contracts signed from 2010 to 2016 hurt future first basemen, the results of the ones signed from 2019 to 2022 may have just saved them. Thank you for watching this video essay. In case you missed it, feel free to watch my video essay on ERA slowly escaping the baseball landscape, and be sure to listen to the weekly podcast I do with the great Daniel Curran on this channel. And yeah, if you get the chance, go to Mike's Clam Shack in Wells, Maine. It's a good spot. But that's all. See you soon.